Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I am so happy to be here with you today. I have actually had pneumonia for the last couple of weeks and haven't been able to make videos here for you on YouTube, and I am so happy to say not only am I feeling so much better, but I'm here with you, and that just makes my heart really happy. Today we are going to share a freezer tour video with you, and we actually have 4 freezers here. We have 2 upright Frigidaire freezers and 2, what brand are these anyway? Maytag chest style freezers here, and they are packed to the gills, so I'm excited to share with you everything that we have inside of these freezers. One of the things that makes this really special for me is that while I was sick, my family actually organized all these freezers. So these 2 chest style freezers were upstairs on our deck, and because we're going to be tearing off this deck, it's pretty rotten, in the spring, we wanted to get them moved since we were organizing them all anyway. And so my family emptied all these freezers out, moved them down here, got them all organized for me, used those bins that we bought from Princess Auto actually. I shared those with you in our last video, which was a Costco haul video, and organized all these for me while I was sick, which I was so happy, and I just think they did a great job, so I can't wait to show you. So as you can see, we have the chest style and the upright freezers. So I'm just going to share with you my personal opinion about which one that I prefer, and it's definitely the chest style freezer. So the benefit, of course, of the upright is you can open it up and see everything in it, and it's really easy to kind of grab stuff, and things don't get lost in the bottom the same way that they do in a chest style freezer. However, I have found that there's a few things. Number one, you can fit way more in a chest style freezer, even if it's the same cubic feet as an upright freezer. You can just fit more in there. Number 2, when you open up the lid, so cold air sinks, right? So when you open up your chest freezer, you're not losing all the cold air out of your freezer. So it doesn't use as much power to kind of cool back down again, because when you open up one of these upright, the the cold just comes right out the bottom of it. And I also think that even with a frost-free upright freezer, that you do tend to get a little bit more frost in there because of that than you do in a chest style freezer. The other thing about these is that if you have one of these outside like we do, and there's a big gust of wind, and we've experienced that, these doors can actually blow open. And that's one of the reasons why Dan put a lock on here. We just have a fencing nail holding it, but just so that way the door can't blow open. We've actually had the door blow right off of it before. As far as the brand goes, these ones are Frigidaire, both of the uprights that we have, and they do seem to be holding up just fine, along with the Maytag chest style freezers. Before we get into the freezers, I just wanted to mention something that you probably noticed at the beginning of the video. And that is this Rubbermaid bin of butter. There is no room in these freezers for our butter. We buy our butter in bulk from Costco, so we keep that in a Rubbermaid bin on the top of our fridge. Like I mentioned, our freezer. Like I mentioned, we live in the north. It's cold, it's freezing this time of year, so this is just fine here. We also have a bin like this upstairs on the deck off of the kitchen, where we put all of our leftovers so that they don't have to take up space in either our freezers or our fridge upstairs, and it works really well. Dan came up with this idea because we used to just take our containers and just stick them on the freezer or put them on the ledge up on the deck, but often the lid would blow off, or there was a piece of tinfoil and it would blow off, or whatever animal would get into it, anything like that, and this has completely solved that problem. So I love this idea. All right, so after everybody had done this job and moved all these freezers down, I came down and took a quick look through them, but at that point I was still feeling pretty sick, so I don't honestly even really remember, so this is going to be as fun for me as it is for you. One of the other things that I don't love about an upright freezer is that the food can kind of fall out of it. So one of the ways you can get around that, of course, is by using bins, which I just haven't done yet. But things just kind of slide out and onto your feet, which I've had happen before. But like I said, you can solve that with using bins or bags or something like that. So in here we have roasts, we have lots of chicken, we have 1 box of pierogies that we got at Costco here, and then at the bottom is raisins. I buy my raisins in bulk. And then we just put them into Ziploc bags like this, and then just bring them up as we need them, and they last for a very long time in the freezer this way. And then in the door, we just have some more broccoli and cauliflower. So pretty basic in here. All right, and then in this one, we have more meat. So we live on a farm, for those of you that are new here, and we raise 100% of all of the meat that we consume. So we raise beef, pork, chicken, and turkey. One of the things that we use a lot of is ground beef. So all of this here, all these boxes are all ground beef. Down at the bottom, we have some more ground beef along with ribs and some chops. And then we have more peppers because if you remember back, I had my best pepper growing year ever this year. So we have a lot of peppers frozen here. So I just dice them up and freeze them. You don't have to blanch them or anything. And then you can use them in any recipe that calls for peppers. So we have lots of peppers here. And then we have all of our steaks and kind of fancier cuts of meat on the door over here. We are really lucky because we have a traveling butcher that comes out to our place and does all like the kill, and he cuts everything up into quarters and then takes it back to his butcher shop, which is great because it's way less stressful on the animals that way. And his company is called Dino Meats. If you are in the interior of British Columbia, he's absolutely fantastic. His name's Matt. So that is what we have in here. All right, into our chest freezer here. So one thing that didn't get done, and it's mostly just because we had some time constraints, was to actually defrost the freezers before they got loaded back up with all the stuff. So you can see there's quite a bit of frost on these freezers around here. What we're probably going to do when we have a little bit more time and a little bit more energy is empty these all out and then just throw a little heater in here because it's winter, right? So it's kind of hard to defrost freezers, especially outside in the wintertime, and get these all defrosted. But other than that, though, everything looks so fantastic. So these are the bins that we got from Princess Auto. And what I love about these is that they are collapsible. So when we don't need them in the freezer, we can just collapse them down and put them in between the freezers over here, which is great. The size is absolutely perfect for fitting into the freezer. As you can see here, they fit in and out easily, and we have 3 stacked high. So you might wonder how we know what's down below in these bins. And one of my kids actually made a map of these deep freezers for us, and the maps are up on the fridge, so it shows exactly what is in each freezer and what level the whatever it is that we are needing to get is on. So it makes it really easy to come out here and know exactly where everything is, which is fantastic. So in this freezer, what do we have in here? We have more meat, of course. So in this one, we have lots of steaks. Over here, we have some of our store-bought meat here. We have the bacon. This is store-bought bacon. And then I have my home-cured bacon down here. Here's the reason why there's store-bought bacon and homemade bacon in here is because I had a recipe that I was going to make, and my homemade bacon had migrated its way to the bottom of my freezer, and I actually didn't know I had any homemade bacon left. So Dan bought some bacon for me, and when we were doing all this rearranging, we found all my homemade bacon in there, which is awesome because it's really good bacon. Okay, and then we have some more frozen peppers, of course, because I have an endless supply of frozen peppers. In this one down here, oh, look at that. I have a few tomatoes left. So one of the things that I do in the summertime, if I just don't have time to process the tomatoes or they're coming out in small amounts, not enough to do a large batch of sauce or whatever, is I just throw them in Ziploc bags like this and into the freezer. And then when I want to process them, I just run them under hot water and the skins peel right off, and then I can just throw them in a pot and make whatever I want out of them. So there's one bag of that there. Okay, and over here we have some coffee that we always keep frozen. We're not big coffee drinkers here, so this is mostly for company. And then these are the bags of mozzarella. I always share with you when we do our Costco haul and we buy our mozzarella in bulk. We run it through the food processor, through the grating blade, and then we just freeze it in bags like this, and then we use it for pizza when we have our pizza bags. And the reason that I don't buy pre-shredded mozzarella is because there's additives in it, like anti-clunking. What's the word I'm looking for? Wow, my brain's not still working 100%.
Oh, I can't even. Cake? It's not cake.
Anti-caking.
Is it caking?
Anti-caking agents is what I meant to say. So, but the stuff that you buy in the block doesn't have that, and I find that it thaws just fine, especially if you're just using it for pizza or in a recipe. It's not a problem. Cheddar doesn't freeze quite as well because it does get a little bit crumbly when you thaw it. So we actually just vacuum seal up our bulk cheese and then put it in our cheese fridge, which is in the pantry. I do have some jars of sun jam. Sun jam is something that I don't like to can because the flavor of it's so amazing. I do have a recipe where I showed you how to make sun jam in the summertime. But as long as you leave enough headspace, so that's the space between your product and the top of your jar for expansion when it's frozen, and then you keep it somewhere safe so it's not going to clank around in your freezer. I have never had a problem with freezing in glass like this. So we have some sun jam in here. I also freeze my hands are getting cold. I also freeze my lard in my freezer because it just stays fresh for longer. So that is what that is. Okay, next layer down in the freezer, we have more peppers. I know this is very exciting. But we also have a whole bunch of grated zucchini here, which I use for baking in the wintertime. And we have some frozen onions, frozen quartered cabbage, so I have quite a bit of frozen cabbage in here, green beans, and in the bottom we have more meat. So we have some steaks, pork roasts here. We have some, what do we have here? Some more steaks, blade steaks, pork chops, all kinds of delicious meat in here. Over here we have, what is this? It's a mystery item. It looks like some kind of squash something. I think we'll bring this up to the house and thaw it out because it looks like maybe it's a frozen soup that I forgot to label. We also have some pizza dough in here. So I'm also going to take this out because I can thaw this and we can have some pizza for dinner tonight, which will make everybody very happy. That does not look like pizza dough, but that looks like something that needs to get used anyway. And also found a little pack of tortillas here as well. Like I said, I haven't gone through these freezers myself. These are things that I want to get used up because I know they are from over 6 months ago, and I try to turn everything over every 6 months or so in the freezers. So we'll get all that stuff used up. We have some frozen bananas. Whenever we have bananas and they start going overripe, I always just peel them and throw them in the freezer to make banana bread or whatever. We have frozen tomato paste here too, which I will also take out, and we'll use this to make the pizza sauce for the pizzas with these frozen pizza pastes. It's nice, I don't have to make dinner tonight. It'll be super easy. And then a few bags of pierogies here and more roasts and ribs over on this side of the freezer. I also have some ice packs in here. I have some of my cheese making and yogurt making cultures that are best if kept in the freezer. These ice packs came in very handy when I was not feeling well and I had a high fever. So that is that for this freezer. The thing that I am absolutely loving about these bins is just how perfectly sized they are for the freezer. One of the questions that I do have for over the long run is whether they're going to hold up, because they are plastic, to being frozen in the freezer. So I'll let you know in about 6 months if they've started to break or anything. So far they're not. They're not really brittle or anything when we take them out. But I just love this setup for keeping the freezer organized. The map, though, I do think is the key for being able to know, because it is 3 bins deep, for being able to know what's on each level. But by having these bins, everything's not getting all mixed up in the freezer, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. All right, last one. So in the top of this freezer, we have some store-bought stuff that we got at Costco. I really love this stir-fry blend. It is so convenient. I can chop up a little bit of pork or chicken and make some noodles or some rice and have dinner in like 10 minutes. It's absolutely fantastic. So it's that. We have corn, some frozen fruit. And you know what was weird when we went to Costco? We realized this after, is that we didn't buy any frozen fruit at all. And I remember, or frozen berries, but I remember when we were going through the aisle, I was starting to not feel well. That was kind of the first day that I was like, because we had been really sick at the beginning of November. And I remember walking down the aisle and just like starting to feel really off. And Dan said to me, oh, did you get everything you needed down there? And I was like, oh, yeah. And then when we got home, we realized that no, actually, we hadn't bought any frozen berries or frozen fruit at Costco at all. But oh well. So we have all kinds of store-bought frozen veg in here, but we also have some of our homegrown stuff. So this is broccoli, cauliflower, more peppers, of course. I have hopefully enough peppers to last us all the way through until the late spring, which would be amazing. I ran out early last year because I didn't have a good pepper year last year, but this year, definitely fantastic. We also have some more ground beef here. Like I said, we use ground beef a lot, so we usually get a lot of our beef ground. The reason that we need this many freezers is probably obvious because we raise a lot of our own meat, and each year we do 2 steer, we usually do 4 pigs, between 100 and 150 chickens, 6 or 7 turkeys, and that is a lot of meat. So our freezers are primarily made up of meat, and that's one of the reasons why I have a freeze dryer for doing a lot of my veggies and why I can so much as well, because I wouldn't be able to I'd probably need 2 or 3 more freezers to accommodate freezing all of that stuff rather than canning and freeze drying it. Those just fit perfectly in there. We have lots more ground in here as well, and we have a ton of stew beef. I make stew all the time in the winter time, so we usually get quite a bit of stew. Lots more frozen veg in here. Oh, there's another bag of tomatoes that I have to process. There's lots of green beans in there, yellow beans. These are alfalfa seeds for microgreens, which we actually need to get started on. What do we have in there? Pork, side ribs. What else? Pork belly. Got a bunch of pork belly that I need to still deal with down there. What do we have in the last layer down there, Dan? More meat. It's a huge shock. Oh, we've got some chickens down there. That's exciting. Oh my goodness, look at down there. Berries. There's cherries and raspberries. So these are all from our garden, all the ones down there. Okay, what do we have under here? What other exciting fun things?
Just scoot over. Lard.
Oh no, look at that.
Hey, we were looking for these.
We were looking for those. Oh, that is really exciting. Now I can make some more bone broth. But let's save that until probably for another couple of weeks.
Bunch of lard, bunch of bone broth.
Okay, so we're gonna be making lard out of our fat here. Usually I like to get my fat processed right away. This must have just got lost in the bottom of my freezer. But these bones are really exciting because I didn't think that I had any more, and there's 2 more here, so I can make a whole bunch more bone broth. That is awesome since I use so much of it when I was cooking. Some more big pork roasts here. So we use these to make pulled pork, and I'll just throw one of these frozen in the oven at around 250, 275 in the morning. And then by evening, I just have to add some barbecue sauce and we have pulled pork. Super easy. It's just so
I'm trying to remember
tidy.
How I went in, so there's
oh, yeah.
So the map is right.
Yeah, that's right.
Like which side did this one?
Yeah, that fit down the side there. Maple. Maple, you sweet girl. You're such a sweet girl. Getting all fluffy, aren't ya? So I thought before we ended today's video, we would go into the pantry and I would show you some of the things that we used up a lot while I wasn't feeling well. And friends, I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have had all of this food because I haven't been able to work over the last 3 weeks, and this is the way that we support our family. So to be able to have all of that food, not have to worry about going to the grocery store, plus just know how nutritious the food is and that my family was able to continue to eat really well even when I wasn't available to cook, just gave me such peace of mind. So let's go in there now. Like I was saying outside, having all of this food put up has been an absolute lifesaver while I have not been feeling well, because we've been able to eat like we normally eat, which is home cooked, good, healthy food, even though I have not been able to make it. So my entire family knows how to cook, which is hugely helpful, but having so many convenience foods on these pantry shelves has made a huge difference. So I just wanted to show you some of the stuff that we used up quite a lot of. And definitely, without a doubt, all of the pre-made soups that I have down here have, as you can see, all of the veggie soup was eaten. This was probably my favorite thing to eat when I was feeling sick. Quite a bit of the beef stew. I actually just tried the bean soup that we made yesterday or the day before. We didn't make it yesterday or the day before, but I tried it and I actually really liked it. It was so good. The other thing that I had a lot of while I was sick was my bone broth. Down here you can see there's a couple of bins or boxes here that are just about empty. So I drank a lot of this while I wasn't feeling well. And honestly, I didn't have a lot of an appetite because the antibiotics that I was on really impacted my appetite, plus just being so sick as well. And being able to have bone broth, I knew exactly what was in it, just helped to nourish my body. And I also, just as far as flavor, you know how everything just doesn't taste good when you're not feeling well? I found that the homemade soups and the bone broth were just absolutely perfect. The other thing that we used a ton of are tomato products because we had a lot of chilies, spaghetti sauce, things that are really easy to make. So all of these diced tomatoes up here, all the diced tomatoes that were here we used, lots of the sauces, a little bit of pizza sauce, not a ton, but these came in so handy. It's so easy to put together a really quick recipe, which I will share with you probably over the next month or two, a lot of the recipes that we make using all these ingredients, but I cannot tell you how appreciative I was to have all of this food. If you would like to see a detailed pantry tour, in our pantry tour that we did this year, we did our freeze dry room and our new warehouse room as well, along with the pantry tour and sharing all of the different things that I have on these shelves. I'll put a link for that up here and down in the show notes below for you to check out if you'd like to. We have a couple more tour videos coming up for you in the next couple of weeks. We're going to do a root cellar tour for you and then probably a winter farm tour. So you can look forward to those, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye everyone.